I think you can see the amazing background that John Hughes has. So we're gonna have to ask some questions, John.
Yeah,
I'm
good
digging
for
this,
it.
man. I'm seeing I'm seeing some leather-bound books, by the way, I love reading. And I'm seeing some regular books. What is this genre in the back that you gravitate towards?
So I like the classicals, right? That's what those leather bounds are, all the classics. A lot of the other ones is I was a huge Stephen King collector for a lot of years when I was younger, a big Stephen King fan. So most of those a lot of those you see back there are Stephen King books and
Nice.
fantasy, Lord of the Rings, a couple original Hobbit collect in there. So some of the
Ooh,
stuff that I from when I was a kid, and then a whole bunch of the knowledge and growth, right? So that's the other aspect of what's in
combo. That's a very good combo, man. Fiction
here.
with nonfiction. I think that's probably the best combo we can have, right? To stretch your mind, learn
Yep.
from people doing it. I like it. I like that. All right. Let me do a quick intro now that we've got most of everybody on. Here's what we've got to you. I'm going to read this so I don't screw it up. John Hughes, owner of Honest Edge Systems, which he'll talk about a little bit, sales manager at the Mike Wood Team, Remax Professionals. And in this session, we'll be covering standard operating procedures and accountability, which obviously is a big hit. We've got a large group of people interested. If you catch part of this, don't worry, this is recorded. It'll go into our Follow Up Boss YouTube channel, which we've got about 13,000 people on there. We're growing. So take a look at other great things there. But John, where do we start when it comes to SOPs? Because I think that in talking with different team leaders or admins who typically run the SOPs or accountability, they start at different places. And I want to know where you start with this. What's the most important thing for you when it comes to this?
So the bottom, the most important thing is the base. It is absolutely understanding what an SOP is and what it's for. So
Okay.
from a team lead perspective, if you don't know why your SOP or what they're used for, that is going to be it's going to blow up the rest of your growth from there. So
I like.
a really key understanding of what an SOP is and what it's used for is always the best place to start if you're going to do this.
All right, so let's start there because that's actually great. What is an SOP to you? Like,
I'll,
what does that
I'll
mean?
get right into it. I'll throw some slides up here and we'll
Excellent.
dive
Let's
right
get
in.
right into it. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask it in the chat so that we can keep an eye on it. And then I'll bring it up to John throughout this session. All right, John, here we go.
Okay, so SOPs, right? SOPs are their standing operating procedures. So they're guidelines. They outline the processes that you or your team want to do. So your team members have a roadmap, right? They know exactly what they're going to be doing. They know what rules need to be followed and what tasks need to be completed. So it is a roadmap for your entire business for your team to follow. And there's a real big thing about using these, the purpose behind them is huge, right? So you
Yeah.
want that purpose behind them to know that that creates consistency, it creates a reliable process that streamlines your operations, and it standardizes high quality actions. Okay, so consistency in training creates consistency in action, and SOPs create that. It
I
also
like.
creates a huge amount of productivity. So it reduces errors, right? And your team should be spending their time on generating sales and loving on clients, not fixing mistakes or asking questions. On the efficiency aspect, save countless admin hours. If you run a team, admin is the highest expenses. So you spend more money on admin than anything else generally besides leads. So you
Mhm.
don't want your team to be wasting time. You want to remove the questions and the cleanup issues and save admin. That is the purpose. So if you understand what an SOP is and what the purpose is, those are the most important things to me.
I like this, man. And for those of you listening in, please take note of one sentence at the top. And I would copy that. I'd snapshot this. I'd maybe even print it out because sometimes as
I'll have
agents,
all these slides available at the end, so
oh,
to make it
good.
easy for
Because like
everybody to get all this info that I'm going to show.
Consistency in training creates consistency in action. Dude,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing. I wish more people, in fact, this is something we're always trying to do a better job on. But in training, because we expect things to happen with everyone we hire or people that are working with us, yet we don't do a great enough job in the
Right.
training, right?
Right.
So I
So
love
it's a
that.
big part, especially if you're a team, even if you're solo, right? You want to have and you have a VA or assistant. It's not just applicable to agents, it goes for your VAs and your admin. So it really goes across the board of how to run full business operation correctly and cleanly is having proper SOP.
Dude, how is this the first time that we're doing a webinar with you, John?
I'm a hidden gem,
The hell?
man.
All right, John, you're coming back. Munch, I'm not even finished yet, but let's bring John back again, okay? And everyone, let us know what city and state you're from, what country. And if you're in Florida, geez, we're praying for you. So just be safe out there, but let us know where you're at. And John, continue.
So with when it comes to actually like using SOPs, the one thing that people struggle with mostly is actually that I've seen is actually building the SOP. It becomes difficult to even think about how to do it, right? So understanding the purpose behind it gives you some clarity on really how to do it. So the creation of the SOP becomes a very important thing in order to work effectively with the team, right? So you want to have simplicity in your SOPs. Too much complication becomes crazy. I love complication, to be honest. I love the detail that comes inside complication, but that
Mm,
does not work well for most people, right? Unless you're someone that is kind of obsessive like me about these things. But really easy, making it easy to understand makes it easy to learn, and then that makes really easy actionable steps for your team to take. Okay, so that really gives you team clarity, and clarity is super important when it comes to SOP and accountability because they have to accept what you do, not fight what you do. Right, your process is the way, and they need to have that belief and clarity of it to have to adopt it and actually use it. Okay, so clarity to
that's
get team acceptance and adoption gets them quickly making money, which is the point. So speed to action, right? So when you're
that's
creating SOPs, make sure they're very simple and very clear so they can get through them quickly, they can understand them, right? And then adaptability is a big part. You want to be able to update your things easily when you need to, when you make changes. And you want to be open to change and input. So things never should be the only way, right? The right way is the way that gets fully embraced. If your team doesn't use it, but you think it's great, what's the point? It doesn't have any effectiveness. So your team has to do it. So you need to involve team members, right? To understand their pain points and really get feedback when you need to make those changes and update it easily. So those are the three things when I think that when it comes to building out SOP that you really want to focus on, right? As the priorities before you even start writing anything down, understand those and work off that. So that way what you build gets used and accepted by your team.
one thing you mentioned on the previous screen that I thought was really important that led up to
Right.
this, which sometimes we forget to do as real estate agents because it's lopsided. There are more real estate agents that are drivers and in the spectrum of characteristics, right? That are
Mm-hmm.
drivers and expressives. We love to talk. We love to just get to do things,
Right.
but less of us are analytical, right? Where we
Yes.
slow down and explain things. Here, the purpose as a whole, you're you're telling us something that isn't told to us often, which is can you slow down and tell us the reasoning behind all of this? Because we need to understand why this is important. And
And this
that
is
is,
life mistakes I've made training agents by trying to force them, right, to do rules versus engage with their beliefs of why that will help them first. All
yes,
right.
that's right there, man. Why is it important to me? Why should I be listening?
100%. You
That's
know,
it. That's it.
100%.
Thank you, man. Thanks for bringing that up. I took a note. I wanted to bring it back. All right,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah. Going there. So the creation of these things is kind of a hassle. So take your time doing it, do it simply. It is important to make sure that it's something that can be easily described to your team. And then something like this it doesn't have to be super complicated. This is just a simple lead rules, right? But it really is very clear about what you should or should not do. It doesn't have to be super fancy, right? Or you can use great systems, but really the simple stuff tends, in my opinion, to work the best, especially on smaller organizations, right? The bigger you get, the more technical it can become for scale. But this kind of thing, these examples are just a very basic, something, a handbook. It's on there. I'm a big FUD user, but it doesn't matter what CRM, but have a resource for your team with these SOPs to give them the knowledge that you want to portray and make it easy for them to research, right? So these kind of things are just simple. They're just docs, Google Docs, but creating them takes time. Your admin, they need to know exactly what they're doing. Again, it doesn't have to be complicated. There are many great programs out there, but this is just a Google sheet, right? A checklist. Make a copy of it, and you can just do this every day, right? Simple, what you have to get done, be productive.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I'm going to just say something, and you'll love this, John. And I don't know if you know this one. This is along the lines of what you're saying here. About, I don't know, it must have been a month ago or so, a little over. There was a leaked document, and I don't know how truly leaked it was. Uh, but Mr. Beast, the
I
biggest
do.
YouTube.
Yeah, no, he is. Yeah. I think everybody does, right?
Perfect. So he had a document leaked, or it was leaked to everyone. How to succeed in Mr. Beast Productions. It's a manual, pretty much
Oh,
handbook
cool.
for everyone that's coming into work with him. The
Yeah.
expectation, right? The expectations, and here's how you're going to succeed working with me, which reminded me because Tony had such a great question for you. And then I'll continue on this, but he's asking, should compliance SOPs be adaptable? Is there wiggle room? John?
Always.
Always.
So, I mean, there's always wiggle room, but not everyone, when it comes to compliance SOPs, there's certain things that shouldn't be done. But if there isn't going to be wiggle room, make sure they know why. Like, if there's something they cannot do 100%, they should know why. And so that way they have an understanding of it. But is there wiggle room? Sure, why not? I mean, it really should be, as long as what they're doing doesn't really screw up your entire business, right? It's not illegal or anything. But really, yeah, there should be wiggle room in everything, because things change, systems change, things improve, you get better, scale goes, models change, brokerages change. So as you move around and do different things, you should be updating these. None of this stuff stays static. Everything really that I do tends to get updated a couple times a year, just because it needs to be based on what works and what doesn't.
Yep. I like this, man. All right, continue. I put up the handbook up in the chat. I'll
Yeah.
send it over to you, John. You'll love it.
Yeah. Oh, please. Yeah. I'll geek out on that for sure. On this, same thing. This is just an onboarding, right? So for your admin to what the task list they got to do, I make it easy, put the links in there, try and make it simple enough. So don't even try to, I don't really want them to have to think about stuff. Just click, 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 get through the process fast and simple. Again, doesn't have to be that complicated. This is just a Google Sheet. Okay? You don't have to pay a lot if you don't for expense ratios. You can build out something monster, or you can just try and keep it as basic as this and start with this kind of stuff, right? And that allows really for implementation to go through. So you build the docs, and then you got to actually use them, right? And put them into your system. So some of the key things that I've learned about implementing SOP is you got to make it easy to find. So that is a big problem that people have if they just simply don't know where to go, or they don't even know how to look for it, right? So making it easy to find alleviates a huge amount of legwork. And so there's ways of doing that. A shared Google Drive folder, that's what I use for a lot of team, for outside agents, any kind of lenders or anything like that. Anybody that needs access to anything that's not part of my internal team, they get a shared Google Drive folder. All right, very simple, really easy, contains everything numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that way they know what they need to be looking at. So super easy.
John, I love this, and everyone paying attention. You don't have to complicate it. In fact, keeping it simple will allow people to adopt what you're trying to have as an SOP or SOPs. The more complicated you make it, the less you're going to have people figure it out and use it consistently.
Mhm.
So great point, John.
You know, team sites, a big fan of team sites. So Google Sites, another free aspect that you have that you can use, you can build out. That is something that to me is really awesome. I love the Google Sites because it really allows you to build out something very simply that contains everything that your team needs to know in one place in a nice, pretty format if you spend the time, right? So there are other things that can be, I don't on there, but this is something where a team site doesn't have to be crazy, right? This is just a basic team site, but inside here has all my systems and tech training, right? Sales resources, coaching, whatever they want to do, right? Anything that I want my team to know, they can easily go in here and find it. They want to submit leads, take a look at open house calendars, new build info, because we do a lot of new builds, right? But this is just a Google site. It's free. Just takes a little bit of time. But everything in my Google folders for training, it's all in here,
Lives. I love this.
right? And then it's keyword searchable. So you can type in, on there, they can look for a particular topic or a doc. Boom, they don't have to really think about how to find things. It's just right there. Very simple, very clean, and looks great. You know, if you want really to make it something, it doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be clear and accessible, right? So really finding where everything goes, it's all here.
So
Right? So it makes it awesome.
when you build it out on something like this, John, which by the way, we did this a while back and we love it. Ours isn't as fleshed out as yours. So this is really cool to see. But I've got a question because when you build it out like this, Angela says, when you say Google site, is it a hidden website that you can have your team members access? How does that work?
Yes, so a Google site, when you have a team email, a business email account for your team, is only accessible by those with a business email, so with a team email. So the public could not see it. Okay, the public can't log into that Google site. It's only accessible when you're logged into your business profile, so your team Gmail. And makes it very internal, right? And no one can really go in there and screw with anything, all right? But it is an internal team site and it's free. There are other versions. You can always build it out depending on what CRMs or websites you use. You can always do the same kind of a thing, implement landing pages with inside your teams with your own websites that are only accessible by the team as well. If you want to get super technical and don't want to try and create a whole nother separate site, but do it inside one place as well. So we use Ylopo. Ylopo has a tools page. That tools page can be expanded if you want to build out your additional team site. You know, so that kind of a thing can be just expanded upon if you already have something that you're using already that keeps resources for your team somewhere.
Love
Right?
it.
So that keyword search, obvious titles are a big one. You know, I kind of want to make it as simple as possible to find and not complicated to think about. So when they're looking for a particular idea they want or something, their resource, they go to where that matches, right? That thought process. You don't want to make it super difficult to understand what is going to be in each section, especially if you're going to build it out like that, where there's a lot of sections. And that's really another thing. So if you don't want to build it, just keep it a couple of tabs. You don't have to have a lot of different resources, but we're building to scale. So we want to include a lot of different resources that value to the team, and that's where we hold it all. All right.
I like it, man.
Training's huge. So when it comes to implementing SOP, it's how are they going to learn it and how often are they going to remember it? So you're going to have to recurring training is a big part of it. Regularly, quarterly, probably at least in my mind, and a really expectations and time frame to complete whatever training you have set up. So for your SOP, access to it through the team site is extremely important. You don't want to have to retrain them every time they have a question. So you want them to go through there and get their own training and allow that access to that same training whenever they feel like it, that they're going to go through to learn it the first time. Right. So helps you alleviate having to rehash the wheel all the time so they can just do it themselves. Right.
I like it. Trisha's got a quick question. If we go back to your Google site, do you have a table of contents? What what is on that dashboard? Is it easy for everyone to just maneuver the whole site?
Yeah, sure. Let me reshare that.
Thanks, Bana. I got sites.google.com so people could take a look at building
Yeah.
site.
So when it comes to like everything on here, right? There isn't really like a drop down, so to speak. You can change the style just like any website, right? You can change the style, but really it's just pretty basic, right? I mean, this is the way I like it. So I'm looking at these kind of things and building it the way that works for my brain and my organizational aspect. But there are different versions that you can pick as a Google site for free. I think there's 3 or 4 different templates that you can use. And they just have different formatting. But it all works pretty much the same as a drop-down menu. And they're very easy to build. This is a view, but if you wanted to actually, this is the creation view, right? So it's not hard. It's click on a few buttons, you mess up, you delete, you redo it. So I don't really have too much of a problem just because these kind of things you just mess around with and it's free. You just gotta play with it and then do it once and then duplicate. So like it doesn't really have to be complicated, but if I'm gonna really make it easy, I'll just like copy, duplicate a page, change the color, change the photo, change the info. But it doesn't have to be really built out or beautiful. It can be simple as long as your team will use it, right? So this is in the works. This has been in the works for a long time. This is not my first one building. So there's a lot here, but that's because I built this for now a year, just trying to build this out to make it perfect and better and have as much value in here as possible. So anyone our team needs, we can direct them, hey, go do this, go do that, right? Here's some resources. Here's the cool things, tips and tricks, right? Everything I want them to know, but I don't have to make it this way, okay? It is just my way. So
You know what I love about I love that you chose to build it on something that you can take anywhere you go. You don't have to
right.
Rely
love
on.
Google because it is accessible everywhere, right? You can just send this link to your team. You can put this link in your training folder for that team site, and they can be on their cell phone and just pop into it. There's no question. It's fully clickable and interactable from your phone from anywhere by anyone who has at that team email.
And it's Google. You can rely on it, John. I love this.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna steal your screen really quick, and then you could take it back. I just want to showcase something because you and I see. I knew we would get along, man. And this isn't going to be the first time we talk. I was like, dude, this guy, I love this guy. So we did the same thing, John.
Yeah, look
So
at that.
we built it a while ago,
Yeah.
and I have everything here, right? And I have our vision, our mission, in our agent resources. People could just grab the listing presentations from here,
Yeah.
right? There they are. They don't have to rethink this. They're like, oh, got it. I understand.
Yep.
Anyway, so Trisha, your question, this is kind of like the table of contents up here. We even have the onboarding and tutorials, everything else. There you go,
Yeah,
John.
we'll build out just the same. It's just taking time, right? It takes time.
It does take time. That
And
is true.
so you build in as I create more things, I just throw it in here and then update it as I create them. And so it's really always going to be changing and improving, right? Because that is the point of to continue growth. Growth is life, and if you don't grow, you die. So that's my opinion. And I will always continue to grow and change, and nothing is ever perfect, right? In my mind. So it's always going to change.
All right, back to you, John.
Back to here. So when it comes to the accountability aspect, just on accountability. So accountability is the biggest hurdle I think that most teams face. And it's also like the most important thing because the culture of accountability that you really that you want to build is hard to gain. So when they come in, you want them to understand the expectations before they even decide to join the team, right? They want us so you can start with the right beliefs. You build that mindset from the beginning. That avoids a lot of problems with agents that have bad habits that you have to break from other team aspects, and any drama that might create with them thinking they should have something that they don't because it's not part of your process. So having a culture of accountability from the get-go is really, really, really important. And it's really necessary when you bring somebody on your team or you're teaching agents that they have an acceptance of being held accountable, right? They need to understand why you want to be held accountable. There's what the value is that that accountability brings. So number one thing it does is it produces higher results. Always, 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 period. Accountability will always make you more money, bring you a higher income, have you a higher cost per a dollar per hour on your activity. So if you don't want to work more, hold yourself to a higher accountability standard so you can make more money working less or do more work if you want to produce higher income, right? It gets you higher confidence when you have higher accountability because we know you're achieving something. So it's a higher confidence level that you gain out of it. You get massively more experience by being held accountable because you're doing tasks and things that most people don't do on an average basis. So you get way more experience just by being held accountable. And you become a professional. So being held accountable makes you a professional. That is the very definition of real professionals are always held accountable to somebody. And they want that. They encourage it. They know they need it to be better. And so that's really huge.
John, that's very well said, man. What I've noticed over the years in building different businesses, inside and outside of real estate, is that when I associate with people that love accountability,
Mhm.
it allows them to grow. And those that don't like to be held accountable easily shift out of our world because I know I'm always behind. Like you said, I'm always learning, I'm always trying to grow. And I love people texting me and saying, "Hey, Tristan, what happened here? You didn't." And I like, dude, I'm so sorry. I love that you reminded me. Thank you. Right? It's
Well,
two different mindsets.
accountability overcomes most things. So, I mean, you don't have to have skill to be really good at something. But if you're held accountable, your determination of just going through the process of being held accountable will generally overachieve the over skill all the time, right? All the time. So accountability on there. The freebies, now we're getting close to time there. So just a quick scan. There's all the docs that you saw, just kind of some examples of those things on there. If anyone wants to scan that, as well as it'll include the slides, this entire slide deck in there for everyone on there. And then if they want to connect, they can scan that one. Connect with me and check out the website, see what else you want to do, or have a chat if you want to really talk about what your business needs, what I can help with.
John, tell me a little bit. We've got a couple minutes. Well, actually, we got a minute, but I still want to know. Tell me about Honest Edge Systems. What is this?
So I've been in operations for teams for a while now, and always on the backside, kind of that number two person who manages the databases and the agents. And I was always an employee of that, and I helping that one team out. And I really wanted to help anybody who wanted it. And so I started the Honest Edge Systems really as a way to help people optimize their systems and SOPs, implement any integrations, build out their options, right? To really give that ability for anybody who needs help to have help from someone who uses it, not just from like a standard, a normal vendor, but an actual person that uses it and does it. And I just wanted to help. So the business was a way for me to really do what I've done for the number one team in Nevada for many years and be able to take that experience to anybody out there, whoever wants it.
Okay. Could you go back to the QR code with the documents?
Yeah.
I scanned the other one and I put it on here just in case people can't scan it. So I put up your home's, your Honest Edge system. I put that up here.
Mhm.
And then the freebies, if you guys can't scan it, let me grab this link just in case for those of you to Google Drive. But John, I have a question about you being like the director of operations for companies.
Every role within operations I've done. So pass that on.
I have selfish questions for me. All right. So
Okay.
let's say I'm gonna just right, let's say I am a team. I'm
Yeah.
looking to bring in somebody, like just like somebody listening in. I'm looking to bring in somebody to run kind of what you just outlined there, SOPs, putting everything together. Is that something that you do, like a director of operations?
That is exactly what it is. So it's a fractional, fractional COO, basically, is what I do. So
Got it. And then
whatever is
what?
needed in operations, whatever they need, I will help them build and create, or give them the base templates to do it themselves, even if they want. So,
All right.
or if
So
they
there
just
are
want advice on
what you can do.
from anything. So build out SOPs and accountability measures, build out systems and training processes, right? I will even help train agents if they really want me in there and training the agents, but generally I try to encourage leaders to do their own training. It's important that it comes from them generally, so they're buy-in, but I will help them, anyone who needs it, build out their entire processes from just optimizing what they already have, fine tuning what they got, to creating it from scratch if they really need it completely built, if they're looking to start a team or start this from nothing. But it doesn't really matter to me who they work. I've worked in many different systems, Follow Boss currently, KV Core, Boomtown, Lofty, Sierra Interactive, all these different CRMs and platforms and different models, from team models, from micro team boutique model to mega team, you know, to any kind of different brokerage styles. Doesn't really matter to me. I think everyone has that ability to be successful if they want to be that way. And I want to be at least a resource for anybody to ask for anything that they could possibly need, and that because it makes me happy. It's what I enjoy doing.
I like that.
And I still do sales. So I still have a team, run a team, do sales. This company is where my real passion lies, though.
Okay, that makes sense. Joe, what's up, man? I didn't see you in there. Is this video recorded? Where could I find it? Joe, I put up the link to our YouTube channel for Follow Up Boss at the bottom there. And let me see what else we got. Mike, we got you. Here's the freebie link. Trisha, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Mike, thanks so much. Tyler Richardson, John, says, John's the man. Lucky to have him as our sales manager, always adapting and taking the time to find each agent's strength and helping us build our business based off of those strengths. You should grab that, John, and put it as a testimonial towards the top of your website. Just grab it right now. That's a really good one. Gina says, this is fantastic. Can't wait to rewatch. Yes, it was. I love the information. Frank, thank you. Thank you. Joe, yep, got you. Let's see what else we got. And Andrea, what's up, Andrea? Did you send the link of those slides too? Andrea, I tried, but when you scan this picture, there's actually 5 different docs. So you're going to have to grab all those in there. But Monch made the drive. Thanks, Monch. Appreciate you. Monch is on our side here. Thank you, John. Thank you, Tristan.
Welcome,
you guys
guys.
are awesome. Great stuff. Jason, thank you. Listen, everyone here should have a John. If you don't have a John, John's for hire. So reach out to John. That's why I was asking. I'm like, John, this is
I'll help build a meet. Bring somebody and I'll help build them.
Listen, I like what I heard, John. This is only part 1. I'm going to bring you back in different settings. I'll reach out to you. Do we have your email address, John?
You do? Yes, sir.
Perfect. I'll get your cell phone after, and then we'll go from there. Everyone else, thank you. If you're in Florida, be safe. And thank you for joining us. Thanks, John.